अच्छा लगता है भक्ति शास्त्री करना ना। बहुत थॉरली स्टडी होती है, बहुत अच्छी है। Okay, so can you do kirtan? Surab. Your name is Surab?
Yes.
Hopefully Madan Gopal will come to me.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana. Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
We're reading from chapter 8 of Krishna book in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Gargamuni has been sent by Vasudeva to do the Namakaran Sanskar of his two sons Balaram and Krishna. We're now on the 5th sloka.
Nanda Maharaj addressed Gargamuni as one of the great authorities in astrological science. Krishna book chapter 8. O great saintly person, you have compiled the astrological knowledge by which one can understand past and present unseen activities, unseen things. By the strength of this knowledge, any human being can understand what he has done in his past life and how it affects his present life. This is known to you. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.5.
So there's a portion of the Shastra called the Bhrigu Samhita, written by Bhrigu Muni. It's very, very big. And in the Bhrigu Samhita, it's described if we have the exact time of our date, of the exact time of our birth, Bhrigu Samhita can tell us what we were in our previous life, what we are in our present life, how that will transpire, and what our next life will be. This is according to our destiny or our karma. Our destiny is a result of our karma. But for the Vaishnavas, we always have to remember that at the time of Diksha, the spiritual master, he wipes clean all of the karma of our previous activities so that we can progress in spiritual life. It's just like when a fan is pulled out of the plug of the fan is pulled out of the wall socket. The fan might turn for some time, but then it stops. So the karmic reactions of both our pious and impious activities come to an end at the time of Diksha. That's why it's so important to receive Diksha from a genuine spiritual master. Otherwise, according to our destiny and according to the results of our karma, we'll be forced to accept another birth and continue in the wheel of samsara.
Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers and priests. Often, since the Brahmanas were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive about their past, present and future. Such Brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of these Brahmanas. Purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 17.103. By the power of astrological science, one can even ascertain the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is to be identified by its symptoms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is identified by the symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. It is not that anyone and everyone can become God without proof from Shastras. Purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 17.109.
So the pure and the educated Brahmins, they would go from house to house as if they were beggars. But actually, they were so full of knowledge, either as astrologers, as physicians, as Ayurvedic physicians, teachers or priests, and they would advise the grihastas in these four aspects. Particularly in astrology, someone might want to know when to do different ceremonies, and if there's some illness in the family, then these Brahmins could help them by giving them Ayurvedic information. So they played a very important role in the Varnashram system by wandering from house to house like this. And also, they wouldn't ask for remuneration. Whatever people gave, they were very satisfied with. If someone asked about their past life or what would happen in the future, if they had a handful of rice or whatever they had in their home, they would give as bhiksha to the traveling Brahmin.
My dear sir, in your previous birth, you were the shelter of all creation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. You are now the same Personality of Godhead that you were in your previous birth. Your identity is inconceivable, eternal happiness. When the astrologer was speaking so highly of him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. My dear sir, he said, I think you do not know very clearly what I was. For I know that in my previous birth I was a cowherd boy. In my last birth I was born in the family of cowherd men, and I gave protection to the calves and cows. Because of such pious activities, I have now become the son of a Brahmana. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 17.111.
So this is one of those traveling mendicant Brahmins. He happened to come to the house of Jagannath Mishra, and just out of curiosity, Nimai, he asked the astrologer, what was I in my past life? So the astrologer, when they're genuine, just looking at his nakshatra, he understood that he was the Supreme Lord. He was completely in amazement when he spoke this. But not only by knowledge, by configuration, by calculation did he see this according to the stars and planets, but by his meditation also, the two together. It's called Gyan and Vigyan. He saw in both places that this is the Supreme Lord sitting in front of me. So Mahaprabhu, he told them, no, I'm not the Supreme Lord. I was just a simple cowherd boy. So that's true. He was Krishna in his previous life. And then he said something very important for all of us to understand, that because of the pious activities of taking care of the calves and the cows, he now was born in a Brahmin family. So this is Nimai, his Gupta Leela.
The foretelling of astrological science, such as the occurrence of solar or lunar eclipses, are wonderful calculations. And by this particular science, a person can understand the future very clearly. Garga Muni was proficient in this knowledge. By this knowledge one can understand what his previous activities were, and by the result of such activities one may enjoy or suffer in this life. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
We have here, all over the world, the weathermen, meteorological department, and they tell us every day what to expect in the weather. So if they tell us tomorrow that there's going to be a big storm, then if we're intelligent, we carry an umbrella. It's not that we can stop the storm because it's much bigger than us, but we can take precautions against the storm. So in the same way, astrologers, because of the movements of the planets and the conjunctions and how they go in their orbits, and sometimes they cross each other, sometimes there are many planets giving effect at the same time, and planets have gravitational pull. They have a lot of power over the Earth, because the Earth is a small planet. For instance, the Moon, although the Moon, it looks like a very small planet, very distant from us, but because of the movements of the Moon, we have tides, and those tides go very high and very low, and they affect us here on the Earth planet. Also, the Moon is in charge of the vegetables, because the Moon draws up the water into the vegetables so they become succulent. So just one little planet has so much effect on our Earth. So the astrologers, because this is a very exact science, by studying the movement of the planets, they can predict, they can give us forecasts so that we can be prepared for what's going to happen in the future, although they can't change anything. Prabhupada explained that the astrologers, they cannot help you at the time of death. It's only remembering Krishna that can help us. So we can possibly even know our time of death, but even in the case of Srila Prabhupada's life, when Prabhupada apparently became ill, the devotees, just to placate themselves, to know whether Prabhupada would stay with us or Prabhupada would leave, they went to the best astrologers in the whole world, all over India, in south, north, everywhere. And they brought to Prabhupada, he used to enjoy, just as an amusement, hearing all of these predictions. And we have them here in Prabhupada's house. We've sent them now to the archives. But there are about 8 of them. Not one single astrological forecast was correct. Not even one of them. Because when you're dealing with the pure devotee, he's entirely in the hands of Krishna. And between his desire and the Lord's desire, anything can happen. It has nothing to do with material science.
Is the word Prabhupada's?
Yeah.
Prabhupada's astrology.
Yeah. We had 8 of them. None of them were right.
The word destiny is now defined. Unintelligent persons who do not understand the meaning of life are just like animals. Animals do not know the past, present or future of life, nor are they able to understand it. But a human being can understand this if he is sober. Therefore, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.13, Dhiras tatra na muhyati, a sober person is not bewildered. The simple truth is that although life is eternal, in this material world one changes from one body to another. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.5.
So for the animal, past, present and future is of no concern, because the animal is completely absorbed in only four things: ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithun. Where is he going to get something to eat? And then after he eats, he becomes strong, so he wants to have enjoyment, sex life, mating. And then he sleeps, and because he has to defend himself, the animals are very territorial, so then there's fear always. A bird is always, you see some birds, some animals, they have eyes on the front of their head, and some have eyes on the sides of their head. So the animals with eyes on the front of their head, they're usually carnivorous, because they're looking for prey in the front. And the ones that are vegetarian, like the cows and other animals, they have eyes on the side of their head, because they have to look from, rather than moving their head from side to side, their eyes are on both sides, so they can look to see if anyone is coming to attack them. So we have bodies, and there's always fear in those bodies. If anyone's going to come eat me, attack me, like that. So animals are only concerned with those four things. But the human being, because he's progressive, he's thinking of what's going to happen in the future. How can I attain the supreme goal of my human life? Therefore, he consults with this very exact science of what's going to happen in the future and how can I prepare for it.
Foolish people, especially in this age, do not understand this simple truth. Krishna says, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatrana muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.5.
So these bodies, they're also machines, and they wear out. They have a particular lifespan. Now you see here, this is a small baby, and then many years later, that baby's body has transformed into an old body. We have some books that were printed by the FEME, Far Eastern, what's the ME stand for? FEME, Middle and East, Far East and Middle East, BBT. And in each language, they have in Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and Arabic. And in the front of each cover, because in each species, the eyes are different and the face is different. So they've taken from each of those four places a Japanese young person and a Japanese old person, just like this, to show that the body is constantly changing. And in each of those, because everyone knows their culture and what the eyes look like, what the face looks like, what the color of the body is. So the people are attracted to those particular covers because the eyes and the face, that's exactly what their culture is like. But in every culture, the laws are the same. We're born, we grow, we dwindle, and we die. So that we have to always be prepared for.
Krishna, the greatest authority, says that one will change one's body. And as soon as one changes one's body, one's whole program of work changes also. Today I am a human being or a great personality, but with a little deviation from nature's law, I shall have to accept a different type of body. Today I am a human being, but tomorrow I may become a dog. And then whatever activities I have performed in this life will be a failure. This simple truth is now rarely understood, but one who is a dhira can understand this. Purport to 10.8.5.
So Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two types of dreaming. There's daydreaming and there's night dreaming. In the daytime, when we're so-called awake, we live in a dream world according to our body, and we engage in so many activities. And then at night, when our body takes rest, the subtle body goes into another body, and that's our night dream. And we're completely engaged in our activities in our subtle body. Then when we wake up, we forget those activities and re-enter into our gross body. So this daydreaming and night dreaming, they're both dreams. They're real in the sense that we're engaged in those activities, but because they're temporary, they have no real value. The only real value is when we're engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So a devotee, he trains his mind so that in both daydreaming and night dreaming, he's engaged in the Lord's service. If anyone's been ever engaged in pujari service, from morning till night, if you're engaged in serving the deity, at nighttime, very often you'll dream of the same activities, and you'll be dressing the deity, talking to the deity, feeding the deity. So this is the perfection of life, when we can be 24 hours engaged in Krishna's service, and it doesn't matter what the condition of our body is.
But whatever activities we are engaged in, sometimes our mind is not there.
The mind is not there. Yes, that's right.
We are our mind is engaged in some other activities.
That's right. That's why consciousness is the most important thing. That's why Srila Prabhupada called the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Because it's not what we're doing, it's what our consciousness is that matters. Because we can be sleeping and we can be thinking of Krishna when we're sleeping, or we can be a million miles away thinking of something else. At the time of death, it's our consciousness that will carry us to the next body. Chaitanya.
My dear Vaishnav Thakur, you just accept me as your dog. As the dog works by the indication of the master, he will give his life. Dog has a good qualification. However strong a dog may be, when the master orders, he will give his life. This is dog, so faithful to the master. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, Vaishnava Thakura Tomaro Kukura Baliya Jana Hamure. My dear Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur means Guru. Kindly accept me as your dog. I will always try to protect you. As dog keeps watch, so I will watch so nobody will come to disturb you. And whatever little prasadam you will give me, I will be satisfied. That is dog's qualification. Master is eating, but a dog will never come unless the master gives little morsel. He is satisfied. There is no harm in taking birth again and again. Our only desire should be to take birth under the care of a Vaishnava.
As we mentioned before, every day during Guru Puja, we pray birth after birth to be engaged in the service of our spiritual master. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also in another prayer, he says, I don't want the birth of Lord Brahma if I'm opposed to you. Rather, I take the birth as a little bug in the house of a Vaishnava. Because of what does a bug do? He eats the remnants, little pieces of food that he finds. So that means he'll be eating prasadam in the home of a devotee. So a devotee is not afraid of taking birth again, so long as he can be in the association of Vaishnavas.
Those in this material world for material enjoyment should know that because their present position will cease to exist, they must be careful how they act. This is also stated by Rishabhadev. Nasadhumanye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Although this body is temporary, as long as we have to live in this body, we must suffer. Whether one has a short life or a long life, one must suffer the threefold miseries of material life. Therefore, any gentleman, Dhira, must be interested in Jyotisha or astrology. Report to 10.8.5.
So a gentleman or a Dhira must be interested in Jyotisha, just like when we get up in the morning and we check with the meteorologist, what's the weather going to be like today? Should I wear a coat? Should I take an umbrella? Which type of shoes should I wear? Simply because they can predict the future of what's going to happen. Long term also. We know seasonally something that's going to happen. So in Jyotish, we can understand physically what's going to happen, and we can take precautions. But our karma is in our hands. And karma, just like everything else that happens, just like the cat is holding the rat in her mouth, or the cat is holding the kitten in her mouth. If we perform activities that are going to cause us to be bound longer in the material world, then that's fear-based. We should be afraid of that, because it means we won't be able to return to the spiritual world. But if we understand that whatever I do, if my consciousness is based on Krishna, then I'll be able to return to Krishna at the end of this lifetime. Or if not at the end of this lifetime, if Krishna wants me to continue in devotional service, for preaching, or anything, it doesn't matter, because I'm always with Krishna in my consciousness. You can read these two sides.
So,
we don't need to go to astrology. We can respect it, it's a science, but we don't need to.
What is the benefit of that?
Prabhupada did not consult with astrologers. At the time of birth, his father did the namakaran, and at that time the astrologers predicted what Prabhupada's life would be. But you never heard of Prabhupada consulting with astrologers, because he would consult with Krishna, and Krishna is the supreme controller.
Karma, fear-based and love-based. So we are reading fear-based. You reap the understanding in fear-based. You reap what you sow. So karma is the consequences, both good and bad, that are brought to you based on your actions, good and bad. You are judged for your actions. Love-based understanding is karma is a gift that brings you lessons for your soul's personal growth, and will continue to bring these lessons back around until you have learned them.
So perhaps we've learned this in our progress in life, that there are particular lessons we need to learn, even in Krishna consciousness. And until we've learned those lessons, again and again, we have similar problems with eating, with sleeping, with disease. If we eat the wrong thing, then we suffer. So again and again, how many times are we going to eat the same wrong thing until we realize, I shouldn't eat this, I'm going to suffer more. So that's a form of love-based karma, because Krishna is showing us through this karmic reaction that we can't do this and we must do this.
Nanda Maharaj was trying to take advantage of the opportunity afforded by Garga Muni's presence. For Garga Muni was a great authority in this knowledge of astrology, by which one can see the unseen events of past, present and future. It is the duty of a father to understand the astrological position of his children and do what is needed for their happiness. Now, taking advantage of the opportunity afforded by the presence of Garga Muni, Nanda Maharaj suggested that Garga Muni prepare a horoscope for Nanda's two sons, Krishna and Balaram. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.5.
So Nanda Maharaj, being a Grihastha and being a Vaishya, because this saintly Brahmin was sent by Vasudeva, he wanted to take the topmost advantage by getting the Namakaran Sanskar done by Garga Muni. Garga Muni was reluctant, and we'll hear why in the coming slokas.
Nanda Maharaj also addressed Garga Muni as the best of the Brahmanas. A Brahmana is one who is expert in knowledge of the Supreme. Without knowledge of the Supreme Absolute, one cannot be recognized as a Brahmana. The exact word used in this connection is Brahmavidam, which means those who know the Supreme very well. Krishna Book Chapter 8. My Lord, you are the best of the Brahmanas, especially because you are fully aware of the Jyotish Shastra, astrological science. Therefore, you are naturally the spiritual master of every human being. This being so, since you have kindly come to my house, kindly execute the reformatory activities for my two sons. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8-6.
So for the twice born Varnas, that's the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas, they are obligated to perform these sanskars in human birth, beginning with the time of conception. We've heard of this again and again now. This is the difference between civilized life and uncivilized life. The Sudras don't engage in these reformatory activities. They only have one sanskara, and that is vivaha sanskara, marriage. But the others, at the time of birth, at the time of conception, there's garbhodana sanskara. During the pregnancy, there are two sanskaras. When the Prabhupada explained that when was it the 3rd month or the 7th month, when the mother sits with children and she eats whatever she likes. And then there's another one for the safety of the child, the parting of the hair of the mother. Finally, when the child is born, there's the jata sanskara. When the umbilical cord is cut, the child is separated from the mother. And the one after that is the namakaran. So because Krishna hadn't yet done his namakaran, it's mentioned in some shastras, for instance, Jiva Goswami, he mentions in Gopal Champu, that Balaram, he did get the namakaran previously by Brahmins with the name Sharma, and they predicted some things at that time. But now that the great family priest of the Yadus had arrived in Braj, which is an amazing occasion, because normally nobody would come to Braj other than the Vaishyas. So he wanted this opportunity that both Krishna and Balaram get this namkaran sanskar from the great Garga Rishi.
An expert Brahmana is able to give reformatory facilities to the sub-castes, namely the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. The Shudras observe no reformatory performances. The Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master or priest for the Kshatriya and Vaishya. Nanda Maharaj happened to be a Vaishya, and he accepted Garga Muni as a first-class Brahmana. He therefore offered his two foster sons, namely Krishna and Balram, to him to purify. He agreed that not only these boys but all human beings just after birth should accept a qualified Brahmana as spiritual master. Krishna Book Chapter 8.
So these reformatory facilities, according to Jyotish Shastra, the Brahmin is able to see which planets are affecting a person. And he might suggest the chanting of particular mantras, the wearing of particular gems to either increase or decrease the effect of different planets, and other type of reformatory facilities. But one time, one devotee here, he went to an astrologer. The astrologer says, "Oh, you're under the influence of Rahu. You have to chant this mantra and you have to wear this amulet on your arm." So when the devotee came back to the temple here, Prabhupada's secretary saw that he was wearing this amulet on his arm, and he said, "What is that?" And then the devotee explained to the secretary. He said, "You don't have to wear that. Come, talk to Prabhupada." So the devotee went and spoke to Prabhupada, explained that, "Prabhupada, I'm under the influence of Rahu, and the astrologer says I have to wear this, I have to chant this mantra, and I won't be so affected." And Prabhupada explained to him that all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna, because Krishna is in charge of all the planets. He can kick out thousands of Rahus. So when we become a devotee, because the Maha Mantra is the most powerful of all mantras, if we have any negative effects astrologically, if we take shelter of the holy name sincerely, Krishna, through the holy name, he can affect and he can correct any impurities or any reformatory things that need to be done astrologically. We simply have to take full shelter of the holy name, and Krishna will do everything.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. The four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, must be present in the society. The Brahmanas are required for the guidance of the whole society. If there is no such institution as Varnashram Dharma, and if human society has no such guide as a Brahmana, human society will be hellish. Report to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.6.
So Prabhupada explained in the previous 5th sloka that Brahmins generally become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, or priests. So these are very important occupations for the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras to consult. If there's any disease in the family, they can consult the Brahmin. According to Ayurveda, they can get proper cure. If astrologically they feel that because of something they did in the past, they're suffering now, then the Brahmin can check, according to Jyotish, what that activity was and how to correct it by giving charity, by engaging in chanting the Lord's name, by other purificatory processes. The Brahmin teaches, he teaches the Vedas, and he engages in priestly activities. That means all of the ceremonies and yagyas that are required in human life. So the Brahmin is very much required. But it's not that everyone should be a Brahmin, because just like in the body has 4 parts: the head, the arms, the stomach, and the legs. So as a society, all 4 of those different types of human beings are required for the society to run smoothly. But unfortunately, in the present age, we're a headless society. That means we don't have Brahmins properly changed, and therefore the social body is running around without a head.
Plate 15. Putting straw in his mouth and bowing down, Sanatana Goswami clasped the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and humbly spoke as follows. I was born in a low family and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen in the well of sinful materialism. I do not know what is beneficial or detrimental for me. Nonetheless, people consider me a learned scholar, and I also think of myself as such. Out of your causeless mercy, you have delivered me from the materialistic path. Now, by the same causeless mercy, please tell me what my duty is. Who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? This is pages 467 to 60.
So this is in reference to the previous photo. This is when Sanatana Goswami surrendered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he asked Kayami, who am I? Actually, he was born in a very high-class Brahmin family, but because he was forced into the association of low-class men, he was considered fallen. So Brahmins, there are different types of Brahmins. For instance, Maharaj Prachini Barisat, he was consulting his Brahmins, and the Brahmins were engaging him in karma kandya yagya, which was actually causing him to continue his material life birth after birth, because all the animals that he was killing, he would have to suffer for that. So some Brahmins, they'll continue your karma kandya life, your miserable life in the material world, by giving you karma kandya advice. But when we take advice from Lord Chaitanya and his associates and his followers, then we can break the cycle of birth and death and become free from the threefold miseries of life. There might be some residual miseries in a devotee's life, and the devotee always thinks that this is simply from my past sinful activities, but I'll take shelter of the Supreme Lord, let me suffer, I simply want to remember Him. This is Lord Brahma's prayer. So a devotee always thinks like that. If there any suffering in a devotee's life, they just think that's from my previous activities. But now I won't commit any more sinful activities, and gradually my sinful reactions will be finished.
In Kali Yuga, especially at the present moment, there is no such thing as a real Brahmana, and therefore society is in a chaotic condition. Formerly there were qualified Brahmanas, but at present, although there are certainly persons who think themselves Brahmanas, they actually have no ability to guide society. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore very much eager to reintroduce the Varnashram system into human society, so that those who are bewildered or less intelligent will be able to take guidance from qualified Brahmanas. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.6 purport.
We won't elaborate on the fallen condition of the Brahminical culture in the present age, but we will discuss and remember why Srila Prabhupada established such things as the Gurukulas in Iskcon. Prabhupada wanted the Gurukulas to train Vaishnava Brahmanas because he knew there was a great need for pure Brahmanas. Now in the Braja community, there were pure Brahmanas, and the Vaishyas, they would take advice from these Brahmanas and have them engage in their ceremonial activities and different yagyas. And these Brahmanas had the power to bless the Vaishyas because they were pure, they were truthful, they had all the Brahminical qualities. So the Brijbasis, they would pray to the Brahmanas that you please protect Krishna, because that was their primary concern in their life, that this child Krishna be protected. He was their future king, and they knew that without a proper king of all the Vaishyas, how would they be able to progress? So therefore the Brahmanas were constantly giving blessings for Krishna, and the Vaishyas as a community were constantly performing ceremonies and yagyas for the protection of Krishna. Therefore Krishna was being saved from all the demons.
Brahmana means Vaishnava. After one becomes Brahmana, the next stage of development in human society is to become a Vaishnava. People in general must be guided to the destination or goal of life. Therefore they must understand Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole system of Vedic knowledge is based on this principle. But people have lost the clue. Nate vidusha swarthagatim he Vishnu. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31. And they are simply pursuing sense gratification, with the risk of gliding down to a lower grade of life. Mritya samsara vartmani. Bhagavad Gita 9.3. This is 10.8.6 purport.
Now here we have Lord Vishnu as a cynosure, and all of the devotees are worshipping him. Primarily there are 4 sampradayas. You can see here in this celebration, there's Lord Shiva, there's Lord Brahma, the 4 Kumaras, Lakshmi Devi. They're all worshipping Vishnu together. Now each sampradaya has their different traditions, their different ways of worshipping the Supreme Lord. But this is just to give the Lord varieties of pleasure, because variety is the mother of enjoyment. Also, there are different rasas. For instance, there's a particular sect of Vaishnavas, and they feel that the topmost rasa is Vatsalya rasa, Krishna as a child. And they're stationed primarily in Gokul here. They have their temples there, their brahmanas there, and their bhajans are about child Krishna when he steals butter, and his relationship with all the gopis and the gopas when he was a little boy. So these different types of tastes, rasa means taste, they give pleasure to the Lord. It's not that everyone worships the same way. Everyone worships according to their different relationships with Krishna, and that gives more and more pleasure to Krishna. So wherever we are, we've accepted the service, we've accepted to become servants within the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. And according to the instructions of our particular spiritual master, we're learning how to please the Lord by devotional service. And this is the importance of a Brahmana, a real Vaishnava Brahmana. Brahman means he understands Brahman. But above that, we have to become devotees of Vishnu and learn from our spiritual master, who is a Vaishnava Brahman, how to please the Lord. Yes.
It doesn't matter whether one is born a Brahmana or not. No one is born a Brahmana. Everyone is born Shudra. But by the guidance of a Brahmana and by sanskara, one can become Dvija, twice born, and then gradually become a Brahmana. Brahmanism is not a system meant to create a monopoly for a particular class of men. Everyone should be educated so as to become a Brahmana. At least there must be an opportunity to allow everyone to attain the destination of life. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:6 purport.
So in the system of sanskaras, at the time of birth, that's a seminal birth, it's our animal birth. And then we become Dvija. Dvi means two, second, and Ja means birth. We get our second birth from the Guru. The Guru is our spiritual father, and the Vedas are our spiritual mother from whom we learn about the father, because only the mother can tell us who our father is. So that's our second birth. And then we have a third birth. That's the yajnik birth. That comes later if we take sannyas or fully surrender to the Supreme Lord. So these different births are the facility given to us in human life for purifying our existence and finally ending this repetition of birth and death.
Regardless of whether one is born in a Brahmana family, a Kshatriya family or a Shudra family, one may be guided by a proper Brahmana and be promoted to the highest platform of being a Vaishnava. Thus the Krishna consciousness movement affords the opportunity to develop the right destiny for human society. Nanda Maharaj took advantage of the opportunity of Garga Muni's presence by requesting him to perform the necessary reformatory activities for his sons to guide them toward the destination of life. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:6 purport.
There are many examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam of people who were born in Sudra families who attained pure Vaishnavism, pure devotion to the Lord. One prime example is Vidura. Vidura was born, yesterday we heard that depending upon the caste of the mother, the son receives that caste. So his mother was a Sudra. She was a dasi. And she was sent by her queen to Vyasadeva for impregnation. And Vidura was born. So by birth he was a Sudra. But actually he was better than a Brahmin because he was a pure Vaishnava. And Krishna, when the choice was made between whether he would take food at the home of Duryodhana, who was the king at that time, as if the king, or the home of Vidura, Krishna chose Vidura's house, even though he was a so-called Sudra, because Vidura was his pure devotee. So it doesn't matter what our animal birth is, what our physical birth is. It matters what our consciousness and what our activities are, our guna and our karma, that we can determine what our real situation is in the Varnashram Dharma.
Upon this request, Garga Muni replied, Vasudev has sent me to see the reformatory performances of these boys, especially Krishna's. I am their family priest, and incidentally it appears to me that Krishna is the son of Devaki. Krishna Book Chapter 8. Gargamuni said, My dear Nanda Maharaj, I am the priestly guide of the Yadu dynasty. This is known everywhere. Therefore, if I perform the purificatory process for your sons, Kamsa will consider them the sons of Devaki. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8-7.
So through astrology, through the calculations of Krishna's birth, Gargamuni could immediately understand not only was he the Supreme Lord, but he had appeared first as the son of Devaki. Now, we were speaking previously about Bhrigu Samhita, because this science is so exact. One time I happened to look, it wasn't mine because I don't go to astrologers, I look at someone else's, two other devotees got their Bhrigu Samhita reading. So one of them said, you'll have 2 children and at the end of this life you'll go back to Godhead. The other one said, at the end of this life you'll become an ant, and then after that ant body you'll be stepped on by a cow, so you'll become a cow. And then at the end of the cow body you'll be able to take another human birth. So what is the value of such knowledge? We're trying to become Krishna conscious in this lifetime. We're not interested if we're going to become an ant or a cow or how many children. That'll happen automatically according to our so-called karma, or it won't happen if Krishna wants to change it. The real truth is we simply want to perfect our consciousness and go back to Krishna in the spiritual world. And to go back to Krishna, it doesn't matter what your birth is. You simply have to remember Krishna. So here Gargamuni, according to his Jyotish knowledge, he immediately understood that Krishna is the son of Devaki. It's not that Vasudeva had to tell him anything. He saw it according to the calculation, the nakshatra. So in one place in Krishna book, he says, it says here, that he tells Nanda Maharaj, it appears to me that Krishna is the son of Devaki. And then in the Bhagavatam, he alludes to Nanda Maharaj, that if I perform the Namakaran, then certainly Kamsa will hear about it, and he'll believe that this is the son of Devaki.
By his astrological calculation, Gargamuni could understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki, but that he was being kept under the care of Nanda Maharaj, which Nanda did not know. Indirectly, he said that Krishna as well as Balaram were both sons of Vasudeva. Balaram was known as son of Vasudeva because of his mother Rohini was present there, but Nanda Maharaj did not know about Krishna. Krishna Book Chapter 8.
So even Gargamuni, when he's speaking to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, these secrets, they don't hear it. They only know Krishna as their son. And he's telling them these things not directly, but in a very diplomatic way. He says, I am the priest of the Yadu dynasty. If I perform the Namakaran, then certainly Kamsa will immediately understand that this is the son of Vasudeva. So therefore, he's telling them, but they're not hearing it. They're only concerned about their sons, about Krishna, about Balaram, that they become purified by Gargamuni's association, by his blessings. This is as much as they understand.
Gargamuni indirectly disclosed that Krishna was the son of Devaki, not of Yashoda. Since Kamsa was already searching for Krishna, if the purificatory process were undertaken by Gargamuni, Kamsa might be informed, and that would create a catastrophe. It may be argued that although Gargamuni was a priest of Yadu dynasty, Nanda Maharaj also belonged to that dynasty. Nanda Maharaj, however, was not acting as a Kshatriya. Therefore Gargamuni said, if I act as your priest, this will confirm that Krishna is the son of Devaki. This is 10.8.7 purport.
So he's telling him that this is the son of Devaki, and obviously Vasudeva sent him to perform particularly for Krishna, the Namakaran. But Nanda Maharaj, he's only thinking of the benefit of his son Krishna. And he wants Garga Muni, because he knows that he's such a powerful priest, such a learned Jyotish Brahmana, he wants him to perform the Namakaran for the benefit of his son. He can't hear the other side, that Krishna is the son of Vasudeva. Even though it's being told to him, he realizes that if Garga Muni does perform the ceremony publicly, if Kamsa finds out, then there will be a catastrophe. But therefore, he has another plan. He said, then do it secretly.
Garga Muni indirectly disclosed the fact that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Garga Muni also warned Nanda Maharaj that if he could perform the reformatory ceremony, then Kamsa, who was naturally very sinful, would understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. According to astrological calculation, Devaki could not have a female child. Although everyone thought that the eighth child of Devaki was female, in this way Garga Muni intimated to Nanda Maharaj that the female child was born of Yashoda and that Krishna was born of Devaki. They were exchanged. Krishna Book chapter 8.
Sometimes we hear the expression, love is blind. So although Garga Muni is telling him, maybe in an indirect way, he's telling him because he sees, according to the nakshatra, it was impossible for Devaki to have a female baby. So therefore, he's indirectly explained to Nanda Maharaj that these babies were switched, and this is actually the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. But Nanda Maharaj can't hear it. Impossible. Because of his intense love for Krishna, he's only concerned, let this child be blessed by the great Brahmin Garga Muni, even if we can't do it the way we would normally want to do it, with the big ceremony and giving charity and distributing prasadam. Let him do it secretly, just so that we get his blessings.
Kamsa is both a great diplomat and a very sinful man. Therefore, having heard from Yogamaya, the daughter of Devaki, that child who will kill him has already been born somewhere else. Having heard that the eighth pregnancy of Devaki could not bring forth a female child, and having understood your friendship with Vasudeva, Kamsa, upon hearing that the purificatory process has been performed by me, the priest of Hindu dynasty, may certainly consider all these points and suspect that Krishna is the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Then he might take steps to kill Krishna. That would be a catastrophe. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8, 8 and 9.
So at this point, Kamsa is sending his ministers and his demoniac ministers and the soldiers everywhere to kill all the children. He wasn't particularly pinpointing Krishna at this point. All the children were to be killed. But because Kamsa is also a very powerful diplomat and very sinful man, if he hears that Garga Muni did the Namakaran, then putting all these different details together, he'll then personally, with all of his effort, try to kill this one baby Krishna, because he'll come to the conclusion that this must be the eighth son of Devaki, because Garga Muni performed the Namakaran.
Kamsa knew very well that Yogamaya was, after all, the maidservant of Krishna and Vishnu, and that although Yogamaya had appeared as the daughter of Devaki, she might have been forbidden to disclose this fact. Actually, this was what had happened. Garga Muni argued very soberly that his taking part in performing the reformatory process for Krishna would give rise to many doubts, so that Kamsa might take very severe steps to kill the child. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8, 8 and 9.
So now Garga Muni's come to Braja from Mathura. Why did he come? He came for the purpose of performing this Namakaran ceremony. He was sent personally by Vasudeva just for that purpose. But he's warning Nanda, this must be done very secretly, because if Kamsa finds out, there's going to be a lot more trouble than we've already experienced. So he's just trying to convince Nanda Maharaj that no one can know about this. I come here to do this, Vasudeva sent me, but we can't do it in such a way that Kamsa will hear about it.
Kamsa had already sent many demons to attempt to kill this child, but none of them has survived. If Gargamuni were to perform the purificatory process, Kamsa's suspicions would be fully confirmed and he would take very severe steps. Gargamuni gave this warning to Nanda Maharaj. This is from report to 10.8, 8 and 9.
Now there are different points of view. According to Krishna, he's enjoying his pastimes with the loving devotees in Braja, and he's playing with the demons by killing them. So Krishna is simply enjoying. According to the residents of Vrindavan, they're performing so many yagyas and sacrifices and tapasya to protect this little child Krishna. And by their pious activities, because of all of their prayers to Narayan, the Supreme Lord, Krishna has been saved from all these demons. So now Gargamuni, he's warning, we don't want to make it more dangerous for this little child. Therefore, we have to think of some solution that Kamsa doesn't hear about it.
Durga also informed Kamsa that the child who would kill him was already born somewhere else. Gargamuni stated, if I give your child a name and if he fulfills the prophecy of the female child to Kamsa, then it may be that the sinful demon will come and kill this child also after the name-giving ceremony. But I do not want to become responsible for all these future calamities. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So we have to remember how sinful Kamsa was. He very easily killed all of the 6 sons of Devaki. 7th son he believed to be a miscarriage, and now this 8th son, he was just looking for him, and he was prepared to kill him as soon as he found him.
On hearing the words of Gargamuni, Nanda Maharaj said, if there is such danger, then it is better not to plan any gorgeous name-giving ceremony. It would be better for you to simply chant the Vedic hymns and perform the purificatory process. We belong to the twice-born caste, and I am taking this opportunity of your presence. So please perform the name-giving ceremony without external pomp. Nanda Maharaj wanted to keep the name-giving ceremony a secret and yet take advantage of the Gargamuni's performing the ceremony. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So when the demons are prominent, sometimes the Vaishnavas have to hide their activities. We've had that experience also within Iskcon, within our preaching endeavors. Very secretly the devotees had to enter very demoniac countries and secretly preach, make devotees, carry on initiations, hold classes, print books, all without the vision of the government, because the government was demoniac. In some countries, the devotees were even killed. They were put into labor camps. They were starved. They were put into psychiatric wards. All different types of horrible punishments just for trying to worship Krishna. So Nanda Maharaj, being a very intelligent, pure devotee, he realized we have to do this somehow or other. We have to have this name ceremony by Gargamuni, but we're going to have to do it very secretly so the demons don't find out. So he suggested, let's do it at the Goshala.
Then Maharaj said, my dear great sage, if you think that your performing this process of purification will make Kamsa suspicious, then secretly chant the Vedic hymns and perform the purifying process of second birth here in the cow's shed of my house, without the knowledge of anyone else, even my relatives, for this process of purification is essential. It's 10:8:10.
Normally in the Namakara and Sanskara, it's a big festival because the child, according to the Jyotish calculations, he's given a particular name. It's always an auspicious name, nothing that even if a person says it the wrong way, that there's inauspicious connotations. It might be a river or flowers or a holy place or the right type of syllables joined together or a name of Krishna. For instance, when the devotees have babies, they usually name their babies after either a great Vaishnava or Krishna himself. Sometimes Prabhupada would even personally give names to the devotees. One time he gave the name Vaishnav Das. One time there were twin girls born, and he gave the name Yogamaya and Mahamaya. One time a little girl was born, and a devotee handed Prabhupada a rose. And he said, Prabhupada, so-and-so just had a baby, can you please give the name? So Rose is called Gulab, so he named the baby Gulab. One time here in Vrindavan, a mother had a baby, and the father's name was Tejas. So someone came to Prabhupada, the baby was born in Delhi, the message was sent asking Prabhupada to please give a name. So devotee went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, Tejas has just produced a girl. Can you please give a name? So from the name Tejas, Prabhupada named that girl baby Tejasini. So sometimes Prabhupada would bless the devotees in that way by giving names. Otherwise there are different calculations, what type of name, which syllables to give, like that, according to the time of birth and the date of birth, everything. These are all very auspiciously and very scientifically done.
Namakarana Sanskar. In the Vedic system, as soon as a child is born, especially a male child, the father calls for learned Brahmanas, and according to the description of child's horoscope, the child is immediately given a name. This ceremony is called Namakarana. There are 10 different sanskaras or reformatory methods adopted in the system of Varnashram Dharma, and the name-giving ceremony is one of them.
So this is a quotation from the 10th canto, I think it's the 2nd chapter, when Vasudeva had his first baby. His name, the Brahmins named him Kirtiman. So immediately after the birth of the child, within a few days, usually within 10 days, the Namakarana Sanskara is performed, the child is named, and right after that he brought that child, as he had promised, to Kamsa. Kamsa said, I have no fear of this child, you can take the child home. But then, because of Kamsa's demoniac nature, he later took that child and killed the child and imprisoned Devaki and Vasudeva. So this Namkaran Sanskara is one of those 10 primary sanskaras. Altogether there are 40, and 10 the Vaishnavas always perform.
Nanda Maharaj did not like the idea of avoiding the purificatory process. Despite the many obstacles, he wanted to take advantage of Garga Muni's presence and do what was needed. The purificatory process is essential specifically for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Therefore, since Nanda Maharaj presented himself as a Vaishya, this process of purification was essential. Formerly, such institutional activities were compulsory. Chaturvrane maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. Gita 4.13. Without these activities of purification, the society would be considered a society of animals. This purport to 10.8.10.
So time is finished. We'll go into the details of these samskaras tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
We should go in this life